just like the Lawndale task force at the beginning at Farragut, all the Bridgeport Chinatown Armour Square task force, as resulting from the incident of Leonard Clark, the situation in Farragut resulted from confrontation between the youth, gangs in the north, gangs in the south. But when they got involved in Farragut, all you saw was youth fighting each other, and it spread into a racial conflict, which was the reason of why they don't put any resistance when we got there. But anyway, those task forces then became part of the policy of the Commission on Human Relations. Once I became director of the unit, it was a given. Our job in Intergroup was, I was responsible with a team of people to address, to deal with community tensions. So we did mediation, one-to-one and group mediation, community intervention, which is just such as Lawndale and Bridgeport, which at the end, the outcome of the community intervention was the task forces. We addressed issues of hate crime. We supported victims of hate crime. Our job was to ensure that a victim of hate crime would not only understand the seriousness of the crime that they were victim of, but that became partners of us in trying to get a resolution to their case. Since a hate crime is a special crime, in a sense that the crime is not it's not the outcome of a person looking for a cure to his addiction, or a person who has some economic needs and go and rob a person. You know, it's not crimes like that, or confrontation that happen out of anger, randomly. No, hate crime is the outcome of individuals who hate a group, a whole group. And if you have a gay person, or let's say African Americans, since we still have a lot of discrimination these days, the person that goes after that African American, the victim, that African American victim, is confidential. It could have been his brother, it could have been his mother, it could have been his sister, his father, because the offender went after the person because of the color of the skin, not because he needed anything. So the crime is against the whole class of people, not against one particular individual. Therefore, the individual is just a member of the group and an accidental bystander. So because it's a special crime that needed some special attention, they developed the hate crime laws, which protect against against crime, or protect victims of hate crime, and therefore not only equip the commission with supporting that victim through the whole process in court, including providing transportation, getting them through getting the right lawyer and so on, but also the lawyers themselves are assigned by the state, as was the case with Caruso before. And so our office have a unit, actually a brother that when there was a hate crime, we got a report, and our job was to contact the victim right away and provide the assistance. And it was important for us to make sure that the victim understood that they needed to stay in the case, because if there was no resolution to the case, the offender was going to strike back, because in fact, in many cases, they would see that they could go ahead and commit a hate crime and not get any punishment. That is okay to do it, and therefore we concluded that it was our job was not only to assist this victim, but get him to understand the social implication of that particular crime. And then we did the marketing for the Commission on Human Relations and workshops educating the people on the issues of race, racism, classism, and all the isms. We have bullying and so on and so forth. We have around a curriculum of close to to 10 workshops, which we provided ourselves. And we were definitely very active throughout the city, because we were used by the police when the police, which is huge and have a lot of people, we only have a chunk of people, but did not, like in the case of Humboldt Park, the police is not equipped to address issues of human relations either. And so in many cases, when there were situations that they sent their community relation officer, but the community relation officer, which was a police, was not able to deal with this tension between these two people, they called the Commission on Human Relations to assist them, to do the mediation, to come up with a resolution to the situation. And of course, they would stay with us because their presence was special, as they were the enforcers of the law. But the people they were equipped to come up with resolution to those serious tension above and beyond common crime was the Commission on Human Relations. So we were busy all over the place. From the very beginning, and of course I could go on and on. I mean, this is 25 years of history, so I'm simplifying it. It was a job that I continuously, when we had delegation from the whole globe, actually, we had a delegation from Europe, from Latin America, from Asia, from the Arab continent. I mean, we have delegations that when they came to the city, they want to know how we were managing crime, how we were managing tensions. And something that I was proud of saying was that in addition to explaining, is the fact that what make it unique and what actually would have or was taking us to another level was that at least my team did not were able to accept this not as a job but as a social responsibility. Besides, they were getting paid good money, so the issue was not so much on whether they pay me this or that, but how can I help to build this city and take it to another level. We also have in the Commission on Human Relations adjudication, which was when there was a violation of civil rights committed, people in looking for housing, as they were in renting, people looking for a job, or as they were already employed, public accommodation, bonding, looking for money, using public accommodation, especially as people move from place to place in parks. There was a lot of indifference towards the newcomers, and those cases that came out of that, where you file a complaint claiming that you were treated indifferently, that you were denied access to these facilities, and you know, the citizens of the city were protected against this type of behavior. Same thing with the housing and so on. And so we have this court which adjudicate as a neutral body, but with power to resolve violations of civil rights throughout the city, with power to be able to, you know, to fiscalize when we have the resistance by some of the offenders, some of the violators, fiscalize their document. I mean, we have the power of going there, take their computers and everything else, when we need it, if we need it, to be able to get the information to facilitate the resolution. And so then I got to the point where I hit 30 years, 5 under Harold in the Latino Affairs, and 25 with the Commission of Civil Rights. And 30 years was a long year, understanding that I was active through all this time at the community level. It was not the community versus my job in the city. I was able to see it as one package. And it was easy because civil rights and what I was doing in the community was also civil rights. And so I thought that then, I felt that I needed to close that page, which I did, and I retired. Take a rest. I always said, and will continue to say, that this is a life commitment. I'm just waiting for the next project where I would then decide which one to choose. As long as I am alive, I believe that whatever my humbled skills are needed, I would give them unconditionally, 100%. And we were born in a moment where human relation skills are a huge need. Therefore, I know that it's a matter of time before I'm called. I have to say this in closing that there's some things that I thought that I learned through my years, and therefore I make that statement that I just did, and that is the need for people to understand that we should be proud that we were born in a moment where this type of, it's like before it was the Industrial Revolution and the machines and computers and so on and so forth. But Rosa Parks was denied, the African American community, or denial of certain, if not much, of what the nation have to offer. It was the order of those moments against people because of the color of their skin. Mrs. Rosa Parks was the example as she challenged a very basic right, which was to have fair and equal access. When you just, because they pay, it was an issue of non-pay, just sitting in a bus, the front versus the back. But if that was still in existence in '52, imagine the huge violation which we learned through the years against the people of color. So we could say that it's like the beginning of the human struggles, a struggle for fairness and human rights, actually started with the human rights movement in the United States just the other day, historical time. And so I said that we have to recognize that fact, and those of us who have the skills to be able to give them to develop the society that we all know need to be developed, and that the only way to develop it is through our participation, as humble as it might be. Have to, as I stated before, be unconditional on giving whatever you can, because we're born and we died, and everything that stay behind is what you were able to do with that, those skills that you developed when you were alive. And in those pages, I would say that the reason why, and this is what I used to say also then, and that is you cannot you cannot be blamed for being born in a situation of need and despair. But if you are able to go through all that difficulties and at the end you succeed, at the end of that rainbow you have a PhD and just surviving, you know what I'm saying? And you know, you have two choices. You can rob that knowledge and those special skills to those people that you left behind. Remember the American dream analogy that I used at the beginning? And or, man, you could take all those skills and that knowledge, go back and share, so that cycle of poverty and despair that you left behind, that you minimize it and help to transform it. And you become a unique resource to that neighborhood, to that community. But being that community part of the whole city, and the whole city part of the whole nation, and so on, that what might be for you insignificant addition to that cycle of community development, of human development, you know, is huge. And you cannot see the whole thing unless you see your little piece. Without your little piece, it's incomplete. And so I would call for my sisters and brothers to, you know, that's why I take my head off to those sisters and brothers, hundreds of them, through my life, that were part of all those struggles. People who I have to mention, very special people. I think I mentioned some of them at the beginning. Rafael Cintron Ortiz, which was the center at U of I, was named after him because of his unconditional commitment to to the student movement. He came from this university, went over there. I think he was kicked out of here because of his activism then. And he did wonders in Latin American studies and with everything that has to do with Latinos on campus. People like Meca Sorrentini, who was at the beginning one of the founders of the Puerto Rican Socialist Party in Chicago, and she just retired the other day. All those years were in all kinds of projects within the Puerto Rican community and beyond. Juan Mendez, the McDonald's, which is also a friend, who also became part of the new commission, what was left over on the Daily. Good friend. But the other Juan Mendez, who he was just an activist, and then at the end he was working with a real estate agency. Who, man, he gave the best of his life to the community, to the development of the Puerto Rican community, but with a vision that went above and beyond our people and our causes and needs. People like, and Jose Lopez, who I mentioned before. Jose was my brother in Northeastern, who went through life and we're still alive and kicking, and he's still over there, giving the best of him to our cause, unconditionally. Brother of Oscar Lopez, he has been also key on that issue as well. But Jose has been comprehensive in terms of contributing to the struggle of our people over there.